What's up, guys? In this video, we're going to go over some advanced sketching techniques that you can use to start designing some more complex parts. So I'm going to show you three things. I'm going to show you how to make construction geometry, how to make patterns, and how to put holes in a 3D part. So I already have a 2D sketch open here, and we can start with something super simple. You just use lines and just make a random triangle. The one side flush against the x-axis like that. Now we have a triangle. So before we do anything further, I'd like to explain to you what construction geometry is. So what that is basically any geometry that does not affect or does not show up in an extrusion. So it's not really part of the sketch, but its sole purpose is to facilitate the sketching process. So an example of this would be you could use a construction line to act as an axis of symmetry over which you could reflect some part of the sketch, for example. You'll see what I mean more clearly later when I actually demonstrate it. But right now, what we could do with construction lines is we could find the centroid of this triangle. So the centroid is basically just the intersection of the medians. So let's put down some medians with construction lines. I have to press this button first, which toggles construction geometry. And anything you put down after you press that will be construction geometry. So we can put down a median. You hover over the opposite side until your mouse snaps and it turns green like that. And that's when you know you've hit the midpoint. And we can do the same thing on the other vertex. And now we have our centroid. You only need two medians for it. And we can put a point there to indicate that is centroid. So that's just one application of construction lines. There are many others, but this is the general gist of it. And we could use this point that we located to do some cool things with patterns, which is what we're going to go on to next. So if you look up here, there are three different patterns that Inventor has. There's rectangular, circular, and mirror. I'm just going to demonstrate each one of them in order using points. Start with rectangular. You can put a point down in just some arbitrary location there. And if you press on the rectangular pattern, you could select that point we just put down, and you can press this button here. And what you have to press now is a line that specifies the direction along which you want to duplicate this point. So we can press this line, for example, and it shows you an arrow which indicates the direction that's going to duplicate this point. And it's really hard to see, but it just made the second point all the way out here. We could lower the distance between the spacing between points, something smaller if we wanted, and we could change the number of iterations. We changed it to like 5. So now we have a row of points. And if we wanted, we can make rows and columns of points just by applying the rectangular pattern again along a direction perpendicular to this side or right here if we wanted it to be a true rectangle. So let's do that. We just put down a line, and we could use the perpendicular constraint to just make it perpendicular to this side right here. And if we select the rectangular pattern again, we just drag over all these points to select them all. We could press this button and select this line. And that will guide the direction of the duplication this way. And and a side note, if you wanted to flip the orientation, you could just press this button here and it'll flip the direction. But that's good the way it is. So let's change this to 0.05 and make it 3. So now we have an array. We have rows and columns of points here. And that's basically what the rectangular pattern does. So the next pattern is the circular pattern. So demonstrated, we're going to use the centroid as the center point. And what the circular pattern does is it basically just duplicates some selection around a center point a given number of times and at a specified angle. So it doesn't have to be 360 degrees. So we could do that by just putting down a point somewhere relatively close to that center point. And we can select the circular pattern, select that point, press this button here to specify the center point, and press the center point. And you can see what that does. It creates 6 points in total. We change either of these values if we wanted. I like the 360 degrees because it looks nice, but let's change this to 10. So now we have 10 points that are all equally spaced from each other and are radially arranged around the center point. So that's what the circular pattern does. And finally, the mirror pattern does what you would expect. It reflects a selection across a certain axis. So let's use this array of points that we just made to demonstrate it. So let's select the mirror pattern and drag over all the points we made. Press this button and select the mirror line that we want everything to be reflected across. And select it, press apply, and you can see what it did. It basically just reflected everything across this line. And now we have two identical sets of points. Now, some of them are kind of off the triangle. And since I want to extrude this triangle in pretty soon, let's move this up just a little bit, so that all the points are on the triangle. So that's the mirror pattern. It's pretty self-explanatory. And those are all three of the patterns. So to finalize this video, let's go into putting holes in a 3D part using the points we specified. So we can finish sketch and extrude this triangle. And let's do something like 0.5 or 0.05. And to make things easier, let's just extrude it in the direction so that you can actually see the sketch, which would be flipped in this case. Let's press OK. And let's just make the sketch visible right here by pressing on it and pressing this button to make sketch visible. And go to front view. And now if we select the hole tool here, there we go. You can see that it created some pretty big holes around each of these points. It selects all of them automatically, so you don't have to do any selecting by yourself. So there are a bunch of options here that you can change to kind of control what the hole will be. You change the type of hole. You change the seat of the hole to accommodate different kinds of bolt heads. Let's go with a countersunk head right here, which is basically just a tapered head. And we could change all these dimensions. Let's make it something small for the purposes. You change it to like, I don't know, 0.03, 0.02. Yeah, that looks nice. Okay. And we could also change the termination. We could say to like a specific surface, or we could just say, let's make this hole go through everything, which is what we're gonna do. And you could also flip it if it's necessary. And again, you can change all the dimensions of the holes. You can change the diameter of this part, you change the diameter of this part, and everything. So let's press OK. And that created a bunch of holes at all those points that we created in the sketch. And that looks pretty nice. So that'll wrap up this video. So in this video, I showed you how to make construction geometry, how to make patterns, and how to put holes in a 3D part. So I hope you enjoyed it, and bye.